Welcome back to another episode of BHAW Radio. I'm your host, Brian Rowan, with co-host Logan Everett. We've got Coach Ward on today for episode 85. Welcome to the show, guys. Appreciate you hopping on.
Happy New Year to you guys and the couple dozen people that are out there listening. It's good to be back. Haven't talked to you guys since last year, so it's been a while. Excited to catch up.
That's actually the first time I've heard that this year so far.
Really?
We got home on the bus on New Year's Eve, and I told the guys we can let you in Arvin if you need to get in there to drop some stuff off. Otherwise, I'll see you next year. And I got about the same reaction. And the next morning, so we have practice on New Year's morning, and I had to do it. And man, you look different. Something's changed. Maybe I just haven't seen you in a while.
Did you hit him with the you've had a whole year, or you've had a long time of rest? You haven't wrestled since last year?
Yeah, I haven't seen you since last year. You haven't worked out since last year.
Yeah.
They didn't think it was as funny as we do.
They never do. They never do.
Logan used to laugh at that when I coached him.
I loved that. When it was always
he loved it. That's exactly what he wanted to hear on New Year's Day.
And it's like you had a combined like 36 hours off, but it was like you had 3 days off of practice.
When I told Logan I haven't checked your weight since last year, get on the scale, He loved it. He was like, "Coach, you're so funny."
Yeah, that was not a good one.
In all seriousness, we haven't had an update in a while though. Like
it has been a minute.
It was the end of November when we had our last episode. So and we were talking a little bit before the show, Logan and I, like, we haven't, we can recap the American duel. And we're like, that was 4 duels ago. That was over a month ago. Do we really want to go into that? But yeah, it has been a while.
Well, let's catch up then, man. I'm excited to talk all things CrossFit, Peloton, Army wrestling, anything else that comes up.
Oh yeah. We'll get into all that, but I don't think we need to go into a recap of, the American and Penn matches, because they were so long ago. I think just, what were some things that stood out, key takeaways, and then, leading into the break before, competing in Iowa here this past weekend.
American duel, the team score ended up, I think, heavily in our favor, but it's one of those duels you look back on and you're like, man, that could have not easily, but that could have been a 5-5 split. Like, there were some tough matches. And so it's, you hope that your team can recognize, like, even coming after a dual meet where you have like a dominant team score win, you hope your team can recognize we got work to do, man. Like that could have been a 5-5 split. And I'm not sure if we grasped that. I think coming off of the Penn duel, again, a lopsided team score, but it really came down to probably 6 15-second burst over the course of the dual meet that really separated the score, and we lost all of them. And so I'm in no way saying that, it was closer than it showed. It wasn't close. But it did come down to some very crucial situations in matches. It wasn't even matches that it came down to. It came down to positions and situations in matches, which is what happens when you're competitive and there's very closely matched opponents. We didn't win those situations where we had to be tough. That's kind of been our focus. I think Corey Shy said this to the team last year, and it stuck with me, and I've repeated it to them a few times this year. Corey said, you know what, we talk about being tough a lot, but toughness in wrestling is recognizing what you need to do in that moment to get your hand raised and then doing it. That's being tough in a wrestling match. And we either didn't recognize what needed to be done in some matches, or if we did, we didn't do it. And so say what you want about our program and our guys, we weren't tough that last dual meet because we lost every tough situation. So that's kind of been a focus since of let's work on those critical moments in matches that are going to help make a difference. I thought that at the Soldier Salute tournament in Iowa, I saw a lot of progress, and it's important that right now we carry that progress into our training, because I tell the team all the time, oftentimes the last place success shows up is on the scoreboard. It starts with a decision. It starts with, this is what I'm about, and this is what I want to be known for. And then your actions follow that. Sometimes it happens quick. Most often it takes a while. That's why it's called a process. But I like where we're at in it right now. I think people have recognized, they've made a decision that is unacceptable, and I need to be known for this instead of that. And now our actions are starting to lead towards that. So I'm excited. We didn't have everything we wanted at the tournament in Iowa, but I saw some progress in some areas that we really need. So it's important we carry that momentum into our training.
Yeah, I thought there was some good results at the Soldier Salute. But the tournament they placed out to 16. Is that
the tournament was fantastic, and I'll tell you, one of the things that made it so great is if you went 0-2 or 1-2 in your bracket, they dropped you down into other brackets, and so you don't have, everybody got at least 3 or 4 matches out of the tournament, and so it's not like a Midlands or something that you go to where you travel across the country. You could go 0-2, and that's all you get. Now that's part of it. That's part of the sport. But given the option of only wrestling 2 matches or having the chance to wrestle a minimum of 3 or 4, which one would you take? It's an obvious choice. So yeah, they did that for the teams. And I think every coach and competitor there appreciated them doing that, adding some extra matches for us.
It was mostly Division I programs there too, right? It wasn't like, I feel like Midlands has a good amount of unattached D2.
That was one of the, that was one of our stipulations on attending, is it had to be a Division I tournament. I was kind of disappointed that some Indiana Tech guys were in there, and it's no disrespect to them, but we happened to wrestle, I think, all 4 of them. Like there were 4 Indiana Tech guys in the tournament, and we wrestled all 4. So that's 4 matches that basically don't go on our record. But other than that, it was all Division I, and that's what you want. Like if you're going to spend the money and the time and go compete, these matches need to go on your record. So having it only Division I, that was important for us.
I think that's great that they all got to wrestle multiple matches, even if you lost. But I mean, there is something to be said about going 0-2 and then having to practice the next morning, but before the tournament, that'll change a match.
Well, here's the thing. This time it wasn't me telling them that they had to make weight. It's like, hey, you have another match tomorrow. You're making weight.
Yeah.
So to give all the viewers, like, here's some insight into how we do things. When we used to go to Vegas, Midland, Scuffle, you name it. If it's a 2-day tournament, if you're there on my team, our team, but I'm the coach, if you're there, you're weighing in and wrestling on both days, no matter what. And unless you're hurt, you can't do it. So there have been some very sad faces on the second morning of those tournaments where you're out of the tournament, you're not wrestling, but you didn't go there for a 1-day experience. And so coach says you're making weight and you're working out or wrestling a match the next morning. But this time it was the tournament director that said that, not Coach Ward. So I didn't get nearly as many bad looks and
that's good.
People calling me bad names behind my back, Logan.
Those are
those matches count too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gives you a little more purpose, because the other way sucks, but it does, like, I don't know, that's something you take away. You're like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to feel that again.
Yeah.
They brought you down into the NIT tournament for day 2.
Yeah. That's right. We didn't get as nice at gifts, but we got in the tournament.
Well, that kind of brings a good topic to mind that Logan and I were talking about before this, of like the state of college wrestling. There's been a lot of, kind of bitching on Twitter and message boards about, saturated events between the Scuffle, the Midlands, and the Soldier Salute, and wrestlers not wrestling. I saw, you replied to Justin Bash, kind of say, hey, why don't we have all these events together? And you and a lot of other coaches were like, no, that's the worst idea. You could expand on that. I'd love to hear that. Just your thoughts on that in general. And where
I don't know Justin personally. I've listened to his podcast and follow his stuff. I think he's a sharp guy that has a passion and a good mind for wrestling. So I'm glad that he's tuned into the sport and wants to see it improve. We need more people like him. I don't know him personally, but I got a feeling we would get along. But I don't like the idea of combining all those tournaments. And here's why. The example I use with him is like, you don't try to combine all the bowl games into one game. You want to create as many viewing opportunities and events as you can. To be fair, like, to create events, you need something to promote, and then you have to back up what you promote. Like if you're going to promote something, that needs to take place. And so no shows and medical forfeits, those are an issue. Like there's no denying that. That's not me pointing the finger at anybody either. Like, I mean, no shows are like, you have no idea what's going on in somebody's life. And it's not my decision. It's not up to me to make that decision for them. So I'm not pointing my finger at anybody. I'm just saying, like, events are best when the stars, so to speak, when they show up. But having multiple events, that's why the Black Knight Invite is such a good event, because it's small but it's efficient and what I would call like talent dense. There's a lot of really good people in a small field. We need more events like that. The 32-man or 64-man bracket over 2 days, that's brutal. Nobody wants that. Only diehard wrestling fans want that. The Soldier Salute, to give you an idea, it was paced almost exactly like the EIWA tournament. And think about EIWA and Big Ten. You have 17 teams in the EIWA. What's Big Ten up to now? Out of 14, 15?
Something like that. Yeah.
So those are 14 and 17-man brackets over the course of 2 days. The only other tournament that really matters, the NCAA tournament, is 32-man over 3 days. And so, but that timing is perfect, where you wrestle in the morning, you wrestle in the evening, and you come back and do the same thing the next day. You try to get 32-man, 64-man bracket in 2 days, like, you're wrestling all day. And that's tough on the athletes. It's tough on the coaches. The only people that want to watch that are diehards. So smaller, more and smaller and talent-rich events is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's.
What other questions you have about the state of college wrestling? I love debating these things.
No, I actually hadn't thought of it from that perspective of like the 14 to 17-man team, how that replicates the conference tournament. And
it was the exact same pacing as EIWA. You go there, if you win in the morning, you go home until the quarters.
Yep.
If you lose first round, then you got to stick around and have a wrestleback match. I mean, so for us, it was an exact simulation of the pacing of the EIWA tournament. That was a great experience for us.
You kind of hit on it a little bit, but like, do you think people not wrestling is a problem? And I know there's like, you never know what's going on in somebody's life. And this is, Brian and I talked about it before you got on, but it's just like, there's a disconnect sometimes, I think, between, it's like, coaches don't need to explain, wrestlers don't need to explain why they're not there. Who knows what they have going on, right? But at the same time, like, the fans think that they are do something. I don't and maybe it's because you're paying for an event, or you're paying for a subscription to something that you want to watch, and then you're not getting what's sold or advertised.
Okay. Yeah, like, I'll mention two things in this. One, I think there's always going to be an issue with 4th, 5th, 6th year guys competing over Christmas break. Wear and tear on your body over the course of a career, that's a real thing. And by the time that you're a red shirt, medical red shirt, junior, senior, 6th, 7th year senior, I mean, how many other times do you have to quote unquote rest in the course of a season? Like, you don't have much. And so that's always going to be an issue. Two is if dual meets were more prominent, you'd see less people sitting out, because let's say we sit one guy out, but another superstar on our team can score 25 points in a tournament.
Yeah.
That superstar can only score 6 points in a dual meet. That's it. It doesn't matter how good they are. So dual meets require you to have much more balance, so people can't sit as much. Third thing I'll say is if what people don't understand, like, most tournaments that you go to, you're paying them to bring your athlete. Like, when we went to Midlands, we paid $100 per athlete for us to have the privilege of wrestling in that event. They're not paying us. Like, I mean, Soldier Salute gave us a travel stipend because they're awesome. And their tournament's called the Soldier Salute, and they wanted West Point there. So they gave us money to show up. So I feel obligated to show up. I'm taking their money. We need to show up. But when you have teams paying to go to an event, like, they don't owe you anything. Now, the fans that are paying to show up, maybe they feel like they're owed, and that's fine. But if I'm a tournament director and I want a team to bring all 10 of their starters, unless they're on the injury reserve, I better pay them to show up, put that in the contract. I mean, that's what happens in professional sports, right? Like, there's a NFL, they publish the injured reserves, or the injury list, because they're getting paid to do it. It's back where in college sports, we're paying them for the right to show up. And so if somebody doesn't feel good, coaches don't think they should wrestle, then they don't owe anybody anything. So from that standpoint, you can look at it either way you want. That's just a different perspective on on that situation. If somebody pays me $10,000, I better show up. If I'm paying them $100, I'll show up if I want.
Yeah, I think a lot of people jump to the conclusion of people are just dodging to protect their seed, and maybe that's part of it, right? But it's like,
No,
how often is that actually the case? I would argue
never.
probably less than what they think.
I mean, no true competitor is protecting their seed in December or January. Give me a break. That's not it. Nobody is protecting
Yeah.
their seed in December or January. Now that may happen later on in the year as you start to get a really good idea of what you're going to be seeded. But right now, I mean, that argument's weak. Nobody's protecting their seed at this point of the year because you don't even have one yet. That's, like you don't have it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people are really going at it online. Everybody's got good ideas, or they think what they think are good ideas.
You think that ranking points are a good idea?
I do.
Tell me
Partially.
more. Tell me.
I don't know. I think the senior level thing kind of does it right, where it's like you incentivize. I don't know. You could have a list of 4 or 5 tournaments, ideally that are on different time frames, so people can not have to pick one or the other that they show up to. But it encourages competition. But one thing that I think kind of sucks for people that sit out is like, we might go to that tournament because we want to compete against Iowa or whoever, and then when those guys don't wrestle, we lose that opportunity to compete against those people and improve our ranking or do whatever. So I think that kind of maybe hurts the smaller guy in the long run. But I think it's a unique thing, and maybe that's like you can't earn a seed or you can't improve your ranking until you've wrestled a set amount of matches. But then you get in the end of the year where Spencer Lee's wrestled 4 matches and he's unseeded and messes up the entire bracket, or who knows,
I think ranking points in a series could be really cool. You would have to have multiple events and maybe like a cap, like you can only go to 2 out of these 5 events, because what you wouldn't want to happen is the top 10 guys in the country keep getting the points over and over. And the guy who's 11th in the country just keeps missing out and has as many points as the 30th ranked guy in the country. You know what I mean? You'd have to place it out to like 16 or 17 per event and give points for that. But that would be a cool idea. Logan, I think you're onto something. You're pretty smart. You must have went to a really good school.
I got through.
Yeah, we made it.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know. Like I've thought about that and thought it would be cool. And I get what you're saying, but then at the same time, like, isn't that what the fan wants? Like from the fan perspective, they want to see the top 10 guys wrestle 5 tournaments a year, which is like, it does take away from the end of the year. But at the same time,
I get it, but this is amateur sports too. And this may be a little bit of like a romanticized view of it, but or an idealistic view. This is amateur sports. And let's not forget the reason that we're involved in college athletics is, to give people the opportunity to grow and develop through the avenue of athletics. So you want to give everybody an opportunity to get out of sports what we all are thankful that we got out of the sport.
Right.
None of us have Olympic gold medals, but we're all very grateful for everything that we learned going through college athletics. So you don't want to take away opportunities from less successful programs to get their guys involved and learn the lessons that we think are the reasons wrestling's great, and just hand those to the top 7 or 8 schools, but we could talk about this all day. I don't know if the fans, if they want to hear about it, but we got good ideas, man. But I think we can all agree with this. As the rules have evolved and you qualify for the NCAA tournament differently, events have not evolved at the same rate as the rules. And event organizers need to look at that. They need to stop pointing their fingers at coaches and athletes and take a look and say, like, well, why aren't these guys showing up to my event? Because if you want them at your event, you can freaking figure out a way to do it. Because these people aren't running the tournaments for free. I'll promise you that. They're not walking out of there losing money for running that tournament. So if you want people to show up, figure out a way to make them show up and stop blaming everybody else.
Yeah, maybe we put the cap at 3 ranking series tournaments and you do them in, I don't know, Vegas or Nashville, places where people want to go. Like if you're going to do one like over December or January where it's cold, like put one in the freaking South or somewhere where like people can go and actually enjoy their time. Like don't put it, nothing against like Minnesota or something, but it's cold there and nobody really wants to travel there. So it's like do that. And then you could just remove the team champion from the end and then have that be a dual meet.
Maybe
Sounds
we'll
a
get
lot
some
like
good
the
questions. Hey, this will be like some good questions for our next episode. Like the fans will have all the answers. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Think of some questions.
It sounds a lot like the collegiate duels. What do you did you like that approach?
I loved it. I think National Duels, that event was flipping awesome. I think all the competitors loved it. I think everybody liked National Duels.
So what's the status of that? Why is that not happening?
Well, if you want to know the truth, here's the truth. You follow the money. Okay. Who does and who doesn't want a National Duels? And who are the most influential people? Just follow the trail of money between the most successful programs under the current system and the people that organize these events, and see if that money's being shared by any of these different people that are afraid. I'll let somebody out there do the investigative work. These are all not for profits. So somebody that wants to figure out who is giving the most money between different, very powerful groups and organizations can figure it out. That's the easy answer. I'll let somebody do the hard work. I've got a hunch. Follow the money and you'll figure out why decisions are made.
What
So you're
about
saying that somebody's out there is paying or haters are being paid to stir the pot, would you say?
No, nobody's being paid to stir the pot. What I'm saying is, if you're against change, most people are for a National Duels type thing. If you're not, I would encourage somebody to, hey, let's follow the money and let's see why this hasn't happened. Because with 90% of coaches supporting it, it should happen. Why isn't it? And then I'll let somebody else take it from there.
What about the new like collegiate duels that happened a few weeks ago? Do you like that concept of it?
So that was just like a group of teams getting together and wrestling, right?
It's just unofficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I like the idea that they separated, so it wasn't Big Ten schools or wrestling Big Ten schools. It was out of conference by design, and you had really good matchups as well.
We loved it, and we would have taken part in it given a different timing. That was like right at the end of finals week for us.
Yeah.
And we just can't do it. I think that event was a great idea. I think more events like that, the better.
Yeah, the Penn State Iowa State match was pretty good.
Yeah,
there was a lot of competitive matches there.
I thought it was freaking awesome. I didn't watch all the matches, but I followed along. I love those types of events. Yeah, it's a good thing.
So getting back to Army wrestling specifically, moving forward here in the next couple of weeks, you've got the F&M Open next week, and then traveling down to North Carolina the week after. What's the next couple of weeks look like? Competitively, from those events. What are you excited about?
So we are sending a group of about 20 wrestlers to the Franklin and Marshall Open this Friday. I can tell you who they are. I've got it here. We're going to send Farmer, Couch, Franco, Stodd, Urachuk, Vasquez, Hummel, Keel, Montgomery, Persile, Botello. He's back in action. Nice. I didn't know that. Thomas Deck is back at 149. Trey McDaniel, Mark Metz, Christian Hunt, Joe Metz, Stevenson, Frable, and Tom Godby are all going to compete at Franklin and Marshall this Friday. And that ended up being you never know at open tournaments who's going to show up until the morning of the tournament. That's probably going to be the toughest one-day tournament in the country. Just looking at the teams that have registered and prepaid for spots. Now you never know if they're going to show up, because I think we paid for like 30 spots and we're only showing up with 20. But the list of teams that reserved a lot of spots there, if I remember right, like Virginia, North Carolina, Air Force, Pitt, Penn, West Point, Navy, a handful of schools are bringing like their entire rosters. And then you mix in a lot of other schools that are bringing a few. It's going to be a banger of a one-day event. It just didn't work for us to send our guys that they wrestled 4 to 6 matches last week to go into a one-day tournament and wrestle 5 or 6 matches in one day again. So we had never planned on sending everybody to both. But so after the Franklin Marshall, we go down on a trip through North Carolina on Friday, the 13th of January. We have a duel at NC State in Raleigh. We need to talk about that, that social that we have there. 2 days later, we wrestle Gardner-Webb and Queens at Gardner-Webb. So we'll get 3 dual meets in that swing through North Carolina in the middle of the month.
Nice. Yeah. So talk about the reception a little bit.
Okay. So
excited.
Yeah, a preception and a reception. We're gonna meet at Mitch's Tavern, 5:30 p.m. It's like a block or so away from Reynolds Coliseum where the dual meet is. We're gonna meet there 5:30, Mitch's Tavern, West Point Wrestling Club social. I'll be there. A lot of our it's capped at 60 attendees. You can sign up at westpointwrestlingclub.org. $100 a bracelet, get you 3 drink tickets, and there's free apps for everybody that are there. Now it's $100. You're probably not going to eat and drink $100 worth of food and drink. Maybe you will. You'll be extra rowdy at the event. But look, the bottom line is, I mean, this is a fundraiser for our program at the same time. So you're going to get something out of the deal. We're going to be able to mingle with former Army wrestlers, alumni, and fans. And we're going to support the West Point Wrestling Club. And then we're going to walk over to Reynolds Coliseum and support our wrestling team against one of the best teams in the country. So we're looking forward to that event, westpointwrestlingclub.org. Sign up. Your bracelet will be waiting for you at the door. Mitch's Tavern. We'll have a good time before and after the dual meet there.
Yeah, I think this is, we didn't talk about the Army Navy football tailgate, but I think that was a pretty successful day. Army got the victory in dramatic fashion. And I think we won the tailgate as well.
Dude, that was amazing. That tailgate, the Johnny Mack Foundation tailgate, thanks for you and Tommy Hendricks for hooking us up and for the Johnny Mack Foundation to let us be a part of their tailgate. I've never seen, it wasn't a tailgate. It was a block party before a football game. It was incredible. They had everything that you could want. What was it? $100 to sign up for that? You definitely got $100 of food and drink before that game. It was incredible. The game was amazing. Yeah, what a fun time.
Yeah, that was.
I'm bummed I didn't get to make it, but I will be at the next one for NC State.
Well, bring some friends. Yeah, I haven't checked the roster yet, but yeah, let's make sure we pack the tavern and walk over to the Coliseum together. So invite your friends. Let's have a good time.
I'm trying to get everybody from Fort Bragg there. I know that there's a group that's planning on going already. I've talked to Russ about it. Russ
should. There's no excuse not to. Like, we'll never get closer.
It's like an hour. It's like an hour from Bragg, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this is the
Russ
time
didn't
to
even
do
text
it.
me back. Shout out to Russ Parsons for just
he'll get back to you in about 3 weeks.
And I tried to message him on Instagram last night, and I see his story saying he's shutting down his Instagram for 6 months.
You just call him if you need him.
Is that his New Year's resolution? He's detoxing from Instagram. Come on, Russ Bus.
He put some like dramatic music in the story as well.
Well, that's normal. Yeah.
That's
So I have a lot of folks that would want to come to the reception, but I don't know if I want to invite them all because my former club in North Carolina, they have a current wrestler on the NC State lineup. So they're going to be coming out in full force, like rooting for NC State. I'm like, I don't know if I want those vibes, at our reception. They're going to be like,
they're going to pay the donations.
Invite them. Yeah, that's like we'll have our cake and eat it too. We'll invite them.
We can charge them a $50 ticket that's good for nothing except a donation to the.
Yeah, invite them. Here's what I would say: invite them. Let's fill this thing up, and if people get left out, then next time they'll jump on it a little bit earlier. Invite everybody. Fill it up.
Yeah.
We can. I don't know how much you've looked at NC State, but I mean, obviously, really solid team. They're always solid. Should be some good competition for our guys.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty good competition. I mean, I haven't looked at their roster up and down. I haven't really watched them.
Some of their matches they get a really good environment for too. So hopefully that's.
This one's going to be sick. It's like military appreciation night on a Friday night at the Coliseum.
They get a really good crowd at NC State matches.
It's going to be. It's going to be sick. Yeah, the crowd's going to. we've had our past few dual meets, we've had more fans than the home team. It's not going to be the case there, I don't think. Like, they're going to show up, but we need to show up too. Like, we need to get loud.
Well, the 3 drinks should help.
Listen, if it takes 4, I'll make it 4. All right, let's just fill this
You know
thing
what?
up
Let's
and get
just
loud.
let's
Your
we'll settle
fourth
it
drink's
for.
on me.
We'll settle it for.
Yeah.
What are you guys? Are you gonna be down there like all weekend? Or are you guys leaving? Well, probably not because of class.
Yeah, I think we'll probably leave Thursday after class. So we'll miss one day of class. Not ideal, but I mean, you have to do it during the season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'll be down there Friday morning. So
all right, let's
Let me
grab
know.
some coffee. We'll get together.
sounds good.
The
I'm staying through Saturday. We're going to the Penguins game Saturday night in Raleigh.
Oh, you are? Sick.
Yeah.
Are
Make a
you
weekend
staying
of it.
in Raleigh on Saturday night and then travel into Gardner-Webb on Sunday morning, or are you guys?
I don't know. I have such a good staff. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
For you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I went from my first trip here, getting on the bus and calling roll, and I remember Ty Reedy, Captain Reedy at the time, was like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? Sit down." And I was like, "I got to make sure everybody's here." And he's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "That's why you have a staff and team captains." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And now I have no idea when we're even leaving. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what we're doing.
It's called trust.
Yeah. Yeah, trust or, laziness, whatever. I don't know. I like whatever it is, I like it.
That
So with the starters kind of having an extended kind of time frame for matches, are they working on a lot of specific stuff? Are you guys doing practices as a team? I know the core gets back and you have a little bit of time off. Are you able to do a lot more individual practices now in the next week and take advantage of the time?
It's been we've been doing group sessions twice a day. And so, what I told the team is you need to think about this like wrestling school. Academic school is not in session, but if it was, you'd be spending 4 to 5 hours a day in a classroom. Get ready to spend 4 to 5 hours a day in the wrestling room instead. And so that's what we've been doing, about 2 hours or so in the morning and 2 hours or so in the afternoon with, some talking about some important things either before and after. So we're spending 5 hours a day in the wrestling room right now, which is a good chunk of time. And yeah, it's very focused on, here's what you have to realize is like, there's always a list of 50 things you could get better at. Some of those things you can get better at by just boom, show this. You didn't know this before, and now you do, and now you're better. Some of these things take weeks to get better at. What we have to do as coaches is narrow down that list of positions, techniques, principles, whatever that you want to work on that can make the biggest difference that it's achievable right now. Like what's the most important, the most impactful, and the most readily like low-hanging fruit. What can you improve on right now? You look at all those factors, you make a list of here's what we're going to spend our time on, here's what we're going to invest our time in this week. And so, that kind of thought goes into every practice, to be honest with you. If not, you're just kind of making minimal progress. We try to be very intentional and deliberate about the things that we're working on and spending time on and talking about. So, there's more than just a little bit of planning that goes into these things.
That's interesting. Yeah. Things have changed a lot since I was in college wrestling, I think.
Well, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know how it was ran there. I know Chuck Barbie's a smart guy, one hell of a wrestler and a brilliant technician in wrestling mind. I can tell you this, coming off the tournament in Iowa, we've got to finish single legs faster. We know how to do it, but if you hesitate, then you get beat. So we don't have to learn new technique. We have to get our timing better on some finishes where we know the technique, but listen, so does the other guy. And if you hesitate and they get to it first, then you can know all you want, but you're not going to finish. So we have to work on timing on finishes a little bit quicker. We have to work on, like we spent 2.5 hours this morning on crossbody leg riding defense. We got chewed up in a couple matches and it cost us in a couple matches where a guy put in a crossbody leg and we didn't get out. We spent, like I said, an hour or 150 minutes in the wrestling room this morning covering just that. Where yesterday was a different position. We spent about 4 hours working on top yesterday. Like we have some specific takeaways that we can build. And here's the thing, when you're a pretty good team like we are, we're pretty good. We're not great. We're working on getting there. When you're good, progress becomes slower. It's a lot easier to go from a 1 to a 6 than it is from a 6 to an 8 and then an 8 to a 10. Like the progress we make is pretty incremental right now. So we have to be patient, but at the same time, like there has to be some urgency to it. But as coaches, we have to, it doesn't happen overnight because we're already pretty good. And so the gains that you make can be smaller and slower, but we have to make those gains if we're going to get to the next level.
Yeah. Well, that answered our question. We had a listener question about technique perspective, what the team needs to work on. So,
I mean, here's the thing: when you get to a single leg, running to the backside is almost, or about half the time, is the right thing to do. But if a guy gets to a whizzer situation a little bit early and you keep running to the back, you're just making his whizzer tighter. And by the time you recognize that, you decide to circle out to the front and try to attack the knee. If he's already locked you down, you're never going to catch up to the knee. Like you can't get out in front fast enough. So, Ethan Bergen has to be able to hit that leg and then immediately come out front to the knee, like get 1 or 2 hands on the knee and be able to pick it up. And then maybe you pick it up and you go behind him. But if you keep running behind him, it's just going to get tighter. And if it gets tight, it doesn't matter how much technique you know how to circle to the front and attack the knee, you're not going to get there. That's one specific situation. What other technical things would you like to know, Brian? I could go on about this stuff for hours.
Let's say it's fourth quarter, about 6.5 minutes left. You're down 14, you score a touchdown. Do you go for 2 or you kick the extra point?
I'm going for 2. Let's win the game.
That's the right answer.
Let's go. Was that the right answer? I have no idea. So
a lot of college coaches would agree with you.
Let's go. Whatever I would do, I would just say, what would Monken do? And then I would do that.
WWMD.
Yeah.
Well, Logan and I were talking about that question before this, and exactly the way you described it was like, there's one example, there's 150 others for just a few other guys on the team, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, technique is part of our sport and I love it. So we could dive in, but nobody wants to hear that. We can keep things rolling.
Shout out to Dave Collinger. He texted me right before this. He said you guys got to hang out a little bit in Iowa.
What's up, DC? We did get to hang out a little bit. He might be the reason I was a little sleepy on day 2 of the tournament. We hung out for a little bit there in the hotel lobby after the first night of the tournament. We had a good time catching up. It's always great to see him.
He didn't have any questions though. I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, we're about to go on here."
Oh, he's got questions. This guy's got questions. So he has a direct line. So he doesn't have to type in through Instagram. He's got a direct line.
He told me some funny stories. He was chirping at some of the other coaches at the event, and they were trying to
I'm shocked. He's a wrestling fan. He likes to stir the pot. We need more people like him.
Yeah.
Is that the first time we've seen Navy this year?
Well, they didn't have all their guys there.
Did they not?
No. So I don't know. It may have been the first time, but they didn't have their full starting 10. Yeah.
Well, that was all the topics and questions I had. Logan, Coach, I don't know if you've got anything come through in your inbox.
Nope.
I think it's a good place to end. Really excited for next weekend at NC State. Catch up, see a lot of familiar faces, not only from West Point, but also North Carolina, where I used to reside. So if you guys don't have anything else, I think it's a good place to stop. Appreciate you coming on, Coach.
Yeah, man, it's always good to catch up. Wish everyone out there a very happy new year, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
I would say for NC State, it'll be a 4-day weekend probably for most military people. So most people will probably be in Friday before the match. We have the event planned already, but if you get in earlier than that, hit me or Brian up. I know we'll both be there, and I'm sure we'll be down to hang out.
The reception before the reception.
Well, if you think I'm not pre-gaming that, you're crazy.
You're talking about the pre-reception.
Yeah, the pre-game.
All right. Well, I'll swing by and see you guys there.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks again, Coach. Appreciate it.
Go Army.
BHAW.
BHAW, beat Navy, beat everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to the BHAW Radio Show. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. If there's something you'd like to hear on a future show, reach out to us on any of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Or you can reach us at email, bhaw.radio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, go Army, be Navy.